Hello and welcome to Straight Talk, Supply Chain Insights, the podcast for your supply chain leader who is on the go and wants to be in the know. And now, your host, Lora Cecere.
Welcome to Straight Talk with Supply Chain Insights. My name is Lora Cecere and I love doing this podcast. I want to share some insights on some blog posts that I wrote last week. And the first is, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. And you might be laughing and scratching your head as, why would this old supply chain gal be talking about an idiom of don't throw the baby out with the bathwater? Well, it's because I see the same pattern over and over and over again. So, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater is an old German idiom which started with, when families took baths, we started with the oldest and then we went to the youngest and then finally the baby was washed. And by the time the baby was washed, the water was dark and, they didn't want the baby to be thrown out in the street. But today we talk about don't throw the baby out with the bathwater as an expression of let's don't throw away the good with the bad. So I've been an analyst for nearly 2 decades and I watch companies time after time, and each company has a different story of how they've evolved in supply chain excellence. In 2004, I started work with a Midwestern North American meat packer to help the company to find its supply chain strategy. At that time, the company had a very, very visionary leader, but really a team that was very new to supply chain. And the supply chain team didn't know much about planning, but the leader had a great idea to start using market demand of what were people buying and to use that market demand to basically drive bidirectional orchestration. So you may be saying, well, Laura, what does that mean? Well, there are 192 ways to cut up a cow, I'm told. I'm not a butcher, and I hear there's 187 ways to cut up a pig. And depending upon what's happening in the market, whether people are buying ribs or buying steak or buying hamburger, you would change the cut of the meat to minimize scrap and to maximize revenue. But that would assume that you knew the demand of the mix of the products and you knew the relative margin of them, and you had a good bill of material to represent the scrap and the waste with each type of cut. And this is an example of bidirectional orchestration, market to market. I know what the market is, I know what the market potential is, I know what the capabilities of the supply chain are, and I can bidirectional orchestrate, basically changing what I ask manufacturing to do based upon market potential and revenue optimization. Now, most companies do not align their supply chain demand planning to revenue management, and they don't have a baseline or market potential signal. So this was a very, very forward-looking supply chain leader with an organization that was really not that advanced. So the chief financial officer at this particular company really struggled with why would we be talking about something so different than what they had in their ERP package? He had spent a lot of time working on standardized ERP and getting the best price from the ERP vendor, and he wanted a solution just as long as it had the acronym of the ERP provider on it, and he was willing to pay for that. But any other solution, he was like, I don't think so. I want to go for standardization. And he thought, if it was in the market, then the other company, the ERP company, could do it in co-development. And we spent a couple of years going back and forth, which is a wasted opportunity cost for the meat packer, really debating whether standardized solutions or custom solutions, and let's just get on with it. To finally the company bought a solution that would allow them to do bidirectional orchestration. And since they didn't have a demand planner, they hired someone from the market, and that was a very autocratic demand planner, very bright gal. And she dictated a very high-end solution, which ended up being custom code. The company bought a solution, let's call it, from technology company A, and they implemented it, and they were pretty successful for 3 years doing bidirectional orchestration. And they didn't really question what they had, and the demand planner just kind of kept their head low and kind of did their thing and never was really socialized at the executive level. But the demand planner decided to go train for the Olympics, and she was a great athlete. The company didn't really backfill the demand planner, very little transition of what the tool was. And so what happened was the demand planners started to use Excel spreadsheets, and they didn't evolve the system. They didn't do maintenance upgrades. They didn't stay in contact with what the company had in terms of technology that they had bought. So in 2018, a new CFO took the reins of the meat packer, and he was convinced that he had old technology. And he was also convinced that a newer technology that looked really sexy and was really designed to connect the budget to supply chain, which anybody who follows me knows how dangerous that is. But anyway, that's what he wanted. And he basically decided that he would sue the first company, let's call them Technology A, to be able to get Technology B. Because he didn't want to pay maintenance revenues anymore to Technology A. But the ironic thing was Technology A actually was a better answer than Technology B. And so the supply chain leaders like, whoa, stop. It's been a while since we bought a solution. Let's go to the market with an RFP and let's find out what's in the market. So they put out an RFP. It was a badly written RFP from a large system integrator. And they picked 3 solutions. None of the 3 could do bidirectional orchestration. In fact, none of the 3 I would consider to be a good solution for this particular company. But they went on and on about what they should do. And, COVID hit. Meatpacking got tough as we shut down factories because of COVID contamination. So they put the selection process on hold. Okay. Now, a year later, we've gotten some vaccines in the United States. People are feeling a little better. The meat packer decides that they're going to open up the RFP and go back and consider the 3 solutions that they had shortlisted. Well, enters Lora, and I say, none of these 3 are going to work for you, right? What you had in solution A was a far better fit, but A, you didn't know how to use it. B, you didn't train. C, you didn't stay close to the vendor. And D, you're not really clear on what you want to do. And so don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Why don't you go back and work hand in hand with solution A that you bought originally, which I think is really a good fit for you, and try to drive value? Well, I wasn't very popular, right? But I find often that we have companies that go on these crazy walks because someone in the executive team is courted by a technology company, and the technology companies play to their ego that they're the smartest people in the world, and they take the organization on a journey like this. And I also find that often companies don't know the technology that they bought, haven't stayed close to the technology company that they bought it from, and didn't evolve the technology, so they're not on the latest upgrade. And so therefore, we set ourselves up to throw away the baby with the bathwater, even though it might be the right baby. And what happens is millions of dollars are wasted. So I say, whoa, let's stop a minute. Let's think about what we're doing. First thing is, when we buy planning technology, we should look at it like a relationship. It's not the implementation of the technology matters, it's how you use the technology and how you evolve the technology over time, which requires getting close to the vendor, doing regular meetings, doing assessments, doing engine tune-ups. It's just not implementing, it's evolving the solution to become valuable and to improve your decision flows. The second thing is that the organization's going to change. Demand planners are going to change, supply planners are going to change. But companies that do this best have a training program, and they invest money to continually update and train the employees on the solution as it evolves, and they document a training program at the implementation, which goes through the details of the assumptions of setting up the platform and how they were going to do planning. And then as the processes change, they again go and they document that so that when employees change, there's something to go back to and for the employees to talk to the technology company about. Third, anytime that a technology company enters into a discussion, it really sends things haywire because the technology company plays to the ego of the executives and will typically put the organization into political chaos because they are deciding that they want to really cause the disruption. So you've got to control the situation and be sure that people are clear on what it is you're trying to do and drive the outcome. So some thoughts. I see a lot of crazy RFPs. I see a lot of companies that don't understand the value of the software that they have. Instead of going willy-nilly with crazy RFPs, look at what do you have, how are you using it, and could you get better value out of what you've bought. So this is Laura. Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Instead, let's step back and try to drive new value. Until next time. My name is Lora Cecere, and I'm the founder of Supply Chain Insights, and I want to give you a personal invitation to join this year's Supply Chain Insights Global Summit. Now in its 8th year of doing this conference, we designed this for a unique experience for supply chain leaders to learn from technology leaders to think differently and drive new outcomes. We're hoping that you can make it on September 7th through the 9th in Franklin, Tennessee. In the conference, we handpick all of the speakers and we design the conference for a unique networking experience so that you leave to build a guiding coalition for change. We hope to see you there.